Hey, I'm Lisa Singer. I am the Senior Editorial Director of Brand Insider at MediaPost, and this is Brand Insider BTS, where I get to pull back the curtain on some of the most influential women marketers today. And with me is Rachel Walsh. She is the Marketing and Digital Director at TAG Heuer. Hey, Rachel.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Good morning.
Oh, good morning. Excuse me.
That's to let everyone know, England, New York. So East
Good
Coast, West
morning.
Coast, across the ocean, across the pond, as they say.
Yes.
So, well, I'm so glad we were able to make it work. I mean, especially just scheduling and just with, I'm sure your busy schedule. So, I'm happy that we're able to do this.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk to you.
Yeah, no, and it's so funny because, like, I mean, I always do my research, do my snooping, as I call it, and I was so surprised to find out that you were a professional athlete. You played on what the England women's hockey team. Is that how is? But wow. Like, I mean, I played sports in college and high school, but to do it professionally with a team like that at that age, what was it like for you?
I will say that it's field hockey, just that it's not ice hockey, it's field hockey, just to make sure that everyone knows it's field hockey. But yeah, no, I mean, I started playing field hockey at a very young age, and I think to be able to represent your country at anything is it's something that's it's such a brilliant achievement, and not many people get the opportunity to do it. And so I played all the way through the junior age groups, all the way up into the senior team. And, you get to travel the world playing in all over in crazy places that you'd never get to visit otherwise. And I also was very fortunate enough to live and play hockey in Germany in the Bundesliga, so in the semi-professional league there. And then I spent 10 years of my life in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam, and I played 8 years semi-professionally there as well. And that's actually the best league in the world. It's called the Hoofdklasse, and all the world's best players play there. And so not only did I do the stint for the national team, but I also was able to have the ability to play in other countries, other cultures. So it's something that I'm incredibly proud of.
Wow, that is amazing. Well, and one of my sports in high school was field hockey.
There you go.
They weren't grabbing us up anytime soon. Our team was actually, we had the best athletes in our school. Like all of our teams always won. We almost lost us a trophy because we lost the most games. Okay, so
Oh,
they weren't pulling me for any professional field hockey though. But I love that. I mean, so I know, I mean, it's not an easy sport, and there's a lot to it. It's just the running and then the coordination with it. So I am so impressed with that, let me tell you. And I love that. So you take that with you, in the sense that, so looking at your LinkedIn page, you wrote, my background is as a former elite athlete, fuels my leadership style, which is
yeah.
performance-driven mindset. So talking about that, I mean, even going back to when you were an athlete, did you have that mindset or did you develop it? What do you say, like, how did you get to that point to be where you are today?
I think that when you're playing amongst people who are the best that they can be, so whether it's in the national team or playing in the Netherlands, playing against back-to-back Olympic champions and some of the world's best players, you can't survive unless you have a performance mindset, unless you want to be the best of the best and the best version of yourself. Because as soon as you don't have that, you don't play and you don't get any field time. So it definitely developed over time, I would say. I think that I learned actually the biggest jump in terms of performance mindset was when I moved to the Netherlands and went to play there, because they are the best field hockey nation in the world. They've won so many Olympic gold medals, they've won world championships and have the majority of the world's best players. So for me to play alongside them was a huge switch for me, and I had to raise my game, twofold in order to be able to compete. And I think those skills that you learn, particularly from a team sport,
Mhm.
has fueled my corporate career, because being in a team and a high performing team, whether it's business or it's sport, you learn, well, from sport anyway, these essential skills. People call them soft skills. I hate that. I call them essential skills that at least fueled my leadership style from on the always looking for excellence, having super high standards, and knowing that a team culture is super important, and the chemistry behind that, and the expectations that you have on each other, and that breeds values and it breeds results. So yeah, I think it's something I've of course developed from a young age all the way through, but it for my corporate career, it definitely is the foundation of how I lead.
Well, and it's, I mean, when you think of a team, you need to not only count on the team, but that there are certain people in your team that do something better. Like, oh, you rely on them. You're getting to one point, and this person's going to get you to that, whatever it
Yeah.
be. And so to bring that into your corporate setting, into what you're doing today professionally, it completely makes sense. And I think a lot of people lose sight of that. Like, how do you, especially bringing in people to your team, you want them to develop that kind of mindset as well. How do you
Yeah.
represent that in terms of, sort of leading them that way?
What's really, really important in a team environment is to ensure everyone knows what their role is and knows that whatever the size of their role is equally as important as the other. And whether you are the top of the tree or you're just starting out in your career, it's about communicating to each other collectively. What is the vision? And then what is your role in that vision to be able to you need to be the best version of yourself in order for the cogs to turn, for the team to function at the best it needs to function. And um, it's for me, it's about over communicating and people, you can develop that mindset, but I guess coming from a professional sport background, it's in your blood, it's in your DNA. And it's in the corporate world, not everyone has that because not everyone has that ambition. And that's where you just have to try and find the right balance of people within your team.
Yep, and trusting that they'll do what they need to. Everyone has that spot, and I think that's a wonderful. I mean, someone who did do sports growing up and appreciated that aspect of it. I think that's a great aspect to bring to your professional career. So, well, also in my snooping, and then I don't just stay on LinkedIn. I went to Instagram, and
Okay.
there was a photo of you, a picture with you and your teammates, and you have a trophy and you were just shining. Like what were you thinking at that moment?
I love this snooping. So that picture actually for me speaks a thousand words, and it's great to see it through your eyes because what you see is a picture of four girls and there's a trophy. But actually, what that picture means to me is that was my very, very last game I ever played. And it was the winning the Dutch championship. So it was in the playoff final, best of three, playing against our biggest rivals, Den Bosch. And I knew already going into that game, I was going to retire. And we within that team is one of the best teams I've ever played in. We had a leadership team of 5 people, and I was one of them. But everyone knew that game was going to be my last game. So when we won, which I think we won 3-1 in that game, I had the honor of picking up the trophy on behalf of the team. And so for me, it was just elation of finishing on a win like that in the best league in the world and knowing that that was going to be the end. And I was finishing at the sort of the pinnacle of my career. And so I was just feeling all the feels in that picture.
Yeah, well, it must have been a little bittersweet too. I mean, you talk about the elation of it, knowing that your last game is winning and going out this way, and your teammates, letting you be the one to get the trophy, just showing that to you. But then also, it's your last game, at least professionally.
Yeah, no, it was my last game ever. I made the decision to stop at the highest point because I didn't want to be that player that kept playing and who used to be good and used to be used to be fast and fit, etc. So it was, but I think I always wanted to. I made the decision that I wanted to be able to look back and know that I played that level and that well and have that as my final memory. So actually, it was almost like a fairy tale because you couldn't have written it because the year before I was actually going to retire and the coach convinced me to do one more season because we didn't win the season before and I did and it was so there was a lot riding on it for me personally because I really wanted to win that badly and we did so it was just yeah chef's kiss for me.
It was meant. That's so nice. I love that. That is such a great story. It is a fairy tale, really. Well, and then just talking about your career, I mean, where you are, as we talked about, but obviously initially professional athlete, and then even with you, when I looked at your degree, it's a combination of sports and marketing. So and you went on to then, work in marketing, at Adidas, also Scotch and Soda, Rituals, until you here now at TAG Heuer. What did you envision? Like, so was this a plan in terms of this was the plan going forward, or, you know, was it a happy whatever? I mean, talk about that, what you were envisioning when you were young, graduating like that.
Well, it's a great question. So I studied marketing for a reason because it was something that I actually didn't really know what it was, but in the UK you have something called A levels, which is what the exams you take to get into university. And I studied sociology and psychology because I'm very interested in how humans behave, interact, and how the sort of psyche works, which lends itself to marketing perfectly right because it's about human behaviors. And so I always knew I wanted to study marketing. I didn't necessarily have a particular industry that I wanted to work in. Yes, I have interests and passions, but I think you can see it in the brands that I've worked for. There's not one specific industry. There's Adidas, which is sports style, and then there's quite a bit of fashion in there as well, and then beauty, and now luxury watches as a part of the LVMH group. And I think there was no real plan. I think I've always believed and loved marketing. I think it's a real expertise. I think that, it's a real balance between art and science, depending on what brand that you work for. And there's maybe more art or more science, depending on which brand I've worked for. But I think I've been able to move between industry because I have such a passion and an interest, and I guess maybe like a cultural awareness of what's going on, and then a taste level that I guess is needed to be able to adapt to understand consumer behaviors.
Yeah.
So no, there was never a big plan, but I've always really wanted to push myself, be out of my comfort zone, and not be pigeonholed into, oh, you're just this. Because I can imagine people look at my background and think, oh, she was an athlete, so she should work in sports, or oh, she's worked Adidas, so she should, and so I've fought against that really much, so I can be much more all-rounded in my approach, and therefore bring much more to the table.
Yeah, I have to admit, I was at first when I saw Adidas, I'm like, oh, that okay, this it makes sense. So I was guilty of that as well, thinking that.
Yeah.
But obviously, then your background with the different brands you've worked for are very varied. So it completely makes sense that that was purposeful to do that. So someone starting out, and we're not all starting out as professional athletes.
Yeah.
And she comes to you and she wants to get what would be the best advice you would give her if she's asking you, how can I not become you, but rise in the ranks to join a position like yourself?
The biggest piece of advice I'd give to anybody is about being curious, and don't pigeonhole yourself. So be curious into, I'm always curious if I look at marketing and brands, who's doing great work? I don't care what industry, but who's doing great work, and why does it trigger me? And I'm constantly wanting to learn. So I think the advice I'd give is to be curious and to keep learning. And as soon as you feel when you're in a specific role where you're posting or you're not learning or you're not being challenged, that's when I think you either need to look for that within the role that you have, or push yourself to move. And that's the kind of advice I'd give.
Yeah, no, it completely makes sense. You mentioned when you like to see brands and what they do and what impresses you. Anything jump out at you that really has impressed you recently?
I'm a huge fan of Loewe. I think they've done some absolutely outstanding campaigns, particularly across social media. They have the ability to be they're obviously a luxury fashion house with very rich heritage, but have made the transition into connecting with a younger audience, being super relevant with them on TikTok and various social channels, but equally having a product portfolio that speaks to many different people. And I think they are absolutely leading the way and do brilliant work. And I'm not just saying that because they're in the group. I think they definitely set the standard, I think, right now.
That's wonderful. And you set a high standard, so I love hearing that. Well, I want to ask you, is there anything that people get wrong about you when they first meet you? Maybe they assume something. And part of it was you mentioned, being your sports background, but anything else as they meet you, what they might think?
great question. Ooh. Hard one to answer, I would say, but I think maybe it is that. I mean, not it's not that I walk around with a t-shirt saying that I used to be a professional athlete. So I don't think people know that
In
unless they know
weights,
it.
that's through the door.
Yeah, exactly. I walk around with my hockey stick. No. I might do that actually. No, yeah, I don't know. It's a great question. I think that something that I have as a guilty pleasure is I have a mild obsession for sneakers and for footwear in general since the age of 13. And so you will see me 9 times out of 10 wearing sneakers, regardless of what event, what's going on. I have a huge passion for footwear in general, let's say. And I think that I've had, not when I worked at Adidas, but potentially other places where it wasn't necessarily welcome to wear sneakers in the office. And because I think there's still this kind of old traditional way of thinking that, oh, that person's wearing sneakers, therefore are they taking their job seriously? I mean, for me, it's about being your most authentic self, and therefore it's part of my sort of daily uniform that I know I don't wear. I know I'm very particular in my particular style that I wear, but I think maybe people have in my career have thought, oh, she's wearing sneakers, therefore she's not dressed appropriately, and that's been a constant, I guess, fight that I would play in certain organizations.
Yeah, no, I could see that. Although I have to say, I saw that you had been featured in the Rob Report and you were not donning sneakers there. You had these very cool boots, or it looked like I could only see the bottom and you lifted, but like silver heel, which is so cool. I mean, the whole outfit, this whole blue ensemble, even your Tag Heuer watch had blue at the blue, so they're matching it. So that was you did well there. So no one's questioning your fashion or your serious you are with that. But I want to ask you, so in the first, because they did a video and there was little snippets, but the first video shot of you, you said first day at Watch and Wonders. Obviously, you need to come correct. What does coming correct mean to you?
Ah, there's some top level snooping going on here. You definitely will win an award for this. I must admit. For me, when I say come correct, it means being the best version of yourself, and whatever that means for you. For everybody, it's completely different. And for me, it's about looking good, feeling good, and style to me is very important. My individual style, and I think it's a way of saying who you are without having to speak and being really confident in that. And sometimes I'll say to myself, how do I want to feel today? Especially if it's something important. And it might be just a few words like confident, elegant. It might be various words, and then I will just adapt what I'm wearing to that. And there's always a playful twist. So the boots in that version, because that's then the playfulness of my personality.
No, that sounds well. I mean, it was the funny thing is, as fashionable as it was, it still played to you. Like just from my snooping, just your style. It was very fit to you. So it wasn't like playing dress up. But it was you just elevated, I guess, if you want to put it that
Yeah.
way. So yeah, no,
Yeah. And I'm never one to somebody who wants to conform or blend into the background. I think that's just, again, part of my personality that I won't, if someone says, gives a dress code that's super rigid, I will find a way to find my way in that to make it my own rather than, it's my worst nightmare to turn up and everyone's wearing the same thing. It's super boring.
no, well, I think that's great. Okay, so now going back to Tag Heuer's, and I like to pull like basically their latest campaign, your latest
Yep.
campaign tagline is designed to win. And that really aligns with what we talked about with your about LinkedIn page
Mm.
section. And
Yeah.
it's really just about sort of embracing challenges and really pushing the boundaries. And you mentioned that a little bit, how you want to do that, especially when you were recommending what people are doing with their work. But in your personal life, when do you push the boundaries? Has it been sometime recently, or is it consistent?
Question. Well, there's probably a couple of examples I can give. For example, so when I went to go and live in the Netherlands, I went there, lived there eventually for 11 years, and I didn't speak the language. Um, but after 3 years, I was business fluent. So when I worked at Adidas, I worked at Adidas Benelux, and it was a Dutch speaking role. So that was me being, okay, I'm not just going to be an expat here. I want to be like a native. I want to speak like a native. So that's incredibly humbling and uncomfortable because one, everyone in the Netherlands speaks brilliant English and wants to speak English. And two, the fact that I managed to get a role in an organization where it was Dutch speaking first and foremost as an English native was a great achievement. But I think right now I would say I've just started since January, started doing reformer Pilates. And I don't know if you've ever done reformer Pilates, but it is so hard. I am an absolute beginner and it's incredibly humbling because for something that I used to think was just about stretching, I literally was oh gosh, that's stretching, that's not exercise. And I I didn't understand it. And then I've been doing it since January, and I must say I enjoy being really rubbish at it actually, because I know that I can only get better. And it is again, it's a form of each time I go to class, I'm a little bit better and I'm seeing these very small gains. And then there might be something that brings me all the way back down to the beginning again. And I have this, it is then becomes I'm only competing with myself. I don't care about anybody else, but it's about how can I be better than I was yesterday? And that's just something in my veins, in my blood.
Yeah, no, I love that. When I've done it in the past, actually, when I was living in California, I need to find a place here in New York, but you feel muscles that you didn't know you had. Like you think you're in decent shape, and then all of a sudden you're using these muscles that just have been just sitting dormant.
Literally. And also, I find it such a brilliant because for the class is 50 minutes long, and you cannot think of anything else other than, oh my gosh, my leg is shaking, my arm is shaking, and what's the right technique so I don't hurt myself. And therefore, your brain is just calm, your mind is completely free, and it's also just something I never thought I would enjoy because I'm always like a game and I want to win or I want to run, and this is very different for me, and I just love it. I'm obsessed.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I think it's something we all need to do. I try to find things like that, and there's a lot of things I'm not good at, so it's easier maybe for me to find. But so anyway, I want to go back to your Instagram. And in it, there's a picture of you in the field in your uniform,
Mhm.
and it has a hashtag that says, "This girl can." And what?
So that This Girl Can hashtag is actually an initiative or campaign that was launched by Sport England. I think it was something like 2015, something like that. And basically it was their campaign at that time was to encourage girls and women to continue to do sport or movement or exercise. And the reason why I used it on that picture is because I'm looking quite fierce in that picture, and it's game face, and I'm full in battle mode, and it's eye on the prize. And it means for me, this girl can is that you can't you it's okay to be competitive and to look like that. You don't have to have the stereotype of being a certain way. And when I played, I would wear mascara. I want to feel and look good, and that doesn't mean I'm not going to be a uh, really up in the fight to win a game. So that was my reasoning to using that hashtag.
Okay, well now we take a picture of you today, and same hashtag, "This girl can." Can what?
What's the picture? Oh, can do anything. And I genuinely mean that. We are incredible creatures as females, and we can do absolutely anything. And yes, there are challenges and obstacles, but we can actually do anything. And we are just, yeah, brilliant creatures. And I love seeing women win. I love seeing women doing great things, and want to take away the thought that we can't do certain things. And I can't wait for the day where we don't have to celebrate it being the first female that did something. Cannot wait for that day when it's just the norm, that women do great things all the time.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. So is there something people would be surprised to know about you in the sense of maybe something you do could be inconsequential that you do on a daily basis, or just, maybe it's a secret talent you have that people would be surprised to hear about?
Okay. Learning to DJ. I love music. No, I don't think so. I'm an open book and you can read me quite quickly. Don't have the best poker face. So hidden talents, no, I just don't know. Yeah, like I said, I love music and I am learning to DJ. That's maybe a hidden talent. But yeah, I'll
So
come back to that question.
are you like going to the clubs and pushing the DJ aside and trying to do it? Are you doing them for your parties for your friends, or where are you practicing?
Yeah, I've got my own decks at home. And no, there's no ambition with it. There is absolutely no ambition to be out in Ibiza doing big club nights. No, it's just for me. Yeah, it's a form of relaxation. It's a skill. It's something new that I haven't mastered yet. So therefore, can I master it? And the only goal I would have with it is being able to DJ in front of friends and seeing them dance to me playing. That's the only goal I have with it.
What are the go-to songs for you?
Ooh, depends on my mood. Really depends on my mood. I love disco, but 70s, 80s disco, love that. I love anything to 90s R&B. I love neo soul. I love UK garage. I love funky house. So at the moment where I'm at is whatever's easiest to try and mix. That's the kind of what I'm working on. But yeah, look, I've got quite an eclectic mix, I'd say.
Okay, very cool. Well, also, I noticed this to me, I was very impressed because you posted on LinkedIn a quote from Aristotle. Okay, we don't see that a lot.
Oh,
Okay.
did
And all right, so the quote was, I don't want to misquote Aristotle, so I will read it. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. And you went on to add, which again, very impressive that you're willing to add to Aristotle's quote. Um,
God.
so whatever your goals are, consistency wins over perfection every time, which I love this because one, women especially, but just try to be perfectionist. You have to do it perfectly, or almost it stops you from doing it if you can't, like just talking about what you were doing with Pilates. So I love that, but I want to know for you, well, before I ask you that, what is your take on people trying to be perfectionists? Like, in terms of, or if someone coming up and they're trying to do whatever job it is that they're doing perfectly. What do you say to them?
I mean, I find it a difficult question because I hold myself to the highest of standards and I am a perfectionist. So I have that struggle internally quite often because I think it's playing a sport like field hockey at the highest level. You don't, the game goes so fast that you make 1,000 mistakes all the time. And it's how you're resilient to be able to bounce back. And I would have played a brilliant game, but I would remember the 6 mistakes that I made, even though everyone else would have given me. And it's a real journey to get to forget those 6 mistakes and think about things that you did great. And I think that for me, it's just more being okay with saying, you know what, today's just not the day. Today's not the day. I'm not at the best of my ability today. So what I've learned is, okay, what are the one or two things that I can do that give back to me? So if I can't do all these 25 things that I really want to achieve, then for me is, have I slept well? Am I hydrated? Am I eating correctly? And that's kind of for me the foundation. And then if it's a tick, then it's okay, I'm going to exercise today. And what does that look like? And I've learned along the way that you really have to be okay with just saying, just today is not going to be my day.
Yeah.
And that's okay as well.
No, I agree. It's hard to do. It's definitely, you sit there and I'm constantly pushing at that as well, just trying to realize that. But I think it's important because otherwise, for me, it stifles me. It makes me almost not wanting to move forward to what that next step is.
Yeah.
So final question, just going with that. So instead of perfectionism, what is it that your habit? So basically, because you had said it's consistency over perfection. So what's your habit? What do you do consistently each day?
Definitely. So Monday to Friday, I always have exercise early in the morning, whatever that may be. And that's my consistency. If I don't do that, well, no, let's say I do that because it sets me up for the day. It gives me energy. It makes sure that I'm feeling great. I know that I've done a good thing. So before the working day starts, I've already achieved something and feel great. When I don't do it, for whatever reason, whether I just don't feel great or I've just decided today is not that day, um, yeah, I notice it. My energy's low, and I'm a high energy person. So it's a habit that what I've learned is if I've set my, okay, today I'm going to do something a difficult weight session or something like this, and I don't do it, I used to beat myself up about it. You said you were going to do this, and now you didn't. For me, something's always better than nothing. So then let's go for a long walk, and that's okay too. And again, takes a while to get to be okay with that, um, because I'm definitely someone who's very driven. But I always find that if I do something, whatever it is, to whatever intensity, it's better for me.
Well, and it sort of wraps it all in a bow because it makes complete sense. Just, being physical. I mean, just, and not necessarily in, professional and trying to go hardcore, but just keeping yourself moving and keeping active. So I think it does. I wish I was a morning person. I end up doing it later, which I keep
Just
trying
whenever.
morning, but I know, but I feel like what the times when I do it in the morning, like what you just said, it makes you more energized for the rest of the day. So I'm just not a morning person. So we'll work on that. Anyway, Rachel, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and thank you for watching. And as I always say, if you have another marketing fabulous woman like Rachel, let me know. I will do my best to talk to her. Anyway, thanks for watching again, and thanks, Rachel.